just by seeing the art, what kind of game do you think that this is? What about this one? And now how about this? A game's art style communicates non-verbally to the player what kind of gameplay they're going to experience when they buy that game. No genre communicates this non-verbal cue better than the cozy game genre, especially since the rise of Stardew Valley and the post-pandemic boom of cozy games. The cozy game art style is probably the most recognizable art style in all video games. But what makes it so recognizable? And where did this craze come from? And why do we as players never tire of seeing the same color palettes and types of characters over and over again? But first, hello, my name is Helena. I am the producer of CozyCat Games, an indie studio developing a cozy baking game. We are CozyCat Games on all social media platforms, and stay in the loop to see our development process and devlogs that we post up on this channel. From the beginning of video game history, pixel art was most common. That's because of the technological limitations at the time, and that's the only thing that artists were able to render without breaking the devices that hosted these games. But as time went on, people found brilliant ways of making the resolution better, but also using these limited resolution to make really beautiful art styles. But how did the industry transition from games that looked mostly like this to games that look like this? Well, it all has to do with demographic. You see, every product made has in mind its target demographic from the beginning. All the aesthetics, all the visual, all the functionality serves what that demographic wants and needs. Games used to solely be marketed towards adolescent and little boys. It was a common notion that video games are for men and for boys, and they're very masculine, and you have to, save the princess, win the day, kill the zombies, be the best. But with the emergence of more slow-paced games and the female demographic really starting to play more games, we saw more story-driven games and casual games take the center stage. Girl games typically get a bad rap because they do not know what their target demographic is. In the 90s, we saw so many video games targeted towards women, but they just were so bad. And nothing showed that better than the overly pink, cutesy, simplistic art style. It didn't really serve what girls were actually looking for. So people who preferred to play more cozy style games actually found it in other avenues that maybe weren't necessarily targeted towards them. Games such as Sims and Minecraft were considered somewhat cozy games because of their relaxing, slower paced nature and more of a adventure style gameplay. What makes cozy game art so recognizable? What are the key pillars that make it cozy game art? Well, firstly, the color palette is extremely distinct. Cozy game art often features desaturated or pastel color palettes with veering on the more neutral and earthy side of things. Alternatively, we can also have really pink and girly type of art, but I'd say that it's not exclusive to either or. We have a good combination of both. These colors are often associated with pastries or soft days or sunsets, things that are aesthetically beautiful and calming. We don't really see neon colors at all in cozy game art because that's symbolic of high intensity of gameplay. That's symbolic of anything that a shooter would represent. Also, shape language is super evident here. In cozy game art, we don't have so many sharp lines unless it's really distinctive of that specific artist's art style. You see a lot of circles and soft corners because that indicates safety, that indicates approachability. Soft contours are often found in nature in safe things. Sharp points, like for example the sharp points of a rose stem, indicate danger, high intensity. So these are all low intensity things. Cats and furry creatures are often the center stage of cozy game art because they live these kind of lives that are very nurtured, very safe, and very cute. Anything that they all mean coziness. Like, I don't know if this is a relatable experience for those of you who also have cats, but every time I leave for school or for work and I see my cat on my bed relaxing and I know that she's gonna still be there in that exact same position when I come home, I'm envious of her life. And I feel like we all try to kind of recreate that lifestyle by entering as a protagonist that is a cat. That's my take. All of these kind of non-verbally show the player, okay, this game is going to be safe, you're safe here, you don't have to worry, and everything's going to be okay. But if we're able to so easily define what is cozy game art, doesn't that mean that it's kind of gotten stale? That we can just so easily categorize, okay, we have this and this and this, and then it's cozy game art. That predictability, does that make it uninteresting for the player? I'd say no. The very nature of it being cozy game art means that it's something familiar, means that it's something safe. If you know anything about Japan, you know the art style, the anime art style has these very characteristic eyes that always look the same or very, very similar to each other. All of the anime that exist, they feature these anime eyes. But people who watch anime don't just watch one anime. They watch every anime. They have like their favorite anime and they have their favorite art styles, and you see the same eyes over and over again, but you never get sick of them because it works and because you know it's going to work and because you know that this art style is characterized by this one specific thing, and that you know what you're going to get from the experience of watching an anime because you've seen it before. You know what tropes to expect. And especially for something like cozy games, having something familiar is crucial to show the player, okay, you're safe, okay, this is going to be a fun experience and you're not going to have to go out there and do something crazy. That being said, there is room for tons of innovation in cozy game art. Let's look at some case studies. Gris is a gorgeous platformer developed in 2018 about grief. It's absolutely stunning visuals, really do feel cozy, but they don't look like other typical cozy games. It uses this watercolor palette to almost bring out these super saturated colors to show the player's grief and strong emotions throughout the game. But it does it in a way that hasn't really been done before. Using this mixed media style adds something new to the table, but it also feels familiar because of the original black and white feeling and because of the neutrality for the most part of the gameplay. But then when we have those pops of colors, it really makes an emotional impact. And let's take Coffee Talk as another example. It actually does have a lot of neon colors, and the color palette is quite different from typical cozy games. But with the subject matter and the shape language, it really shows this cool new angle of what it means to be a comfortable and warm game. It has coffee, right? The very thing that we bond over and that we think when we think about spending time with loved ones and discussing something intimate with a friend. You share a cup of coffee with them, you share a cup of tea with them. Most of the characters have soft features, and while we do have a lot of green and light and blue, and the setting is very neon and cyberpunk-esque, it does it in a way that feels comfortable and feels cozy. So it doesn't necessarily have to fit the stereotype of being, you know, by a campfire for it to still be considered cozy. So we can see that there is definitely tons of room for innovation and for creativity in the realm of cozy games, and there's nothing wrong with enjoying or sticking to enjoying games that fit to this formula that works. The whole idea of cozy games is that we're supposed to be comfortable and we're not supposed to be judging or being hypercritical of, you know, if something is just not completely unique, because it's for that comfortable feeling that we gravitate towards these games in the first place. So that's kind of the effect that we're going for with our baking game that we're developing at CozyCat Games. So if you'd want to check out the kind of art style that we've chosen for our baking cozy game, you can see it on our channel, also on our TikTok. So what is your guys' favorite cozy game in terms of its art purely, and why? It's so interesting when someone considers a cozy game a type of game that typically doesn't match that subject matter or that art style at all, but it's because it has certain connections or it elicits certain emotions from the player that makes it have that comfortable and safe feeling. Let's have a little discussion in the comments and let me know what other kind of topics you guys would like me to talk about or other type of content. We're still really new here at CozyCat Games, so we're trying to figure out what works, and you would love your suggestions and your feedback. Thank you so much for watching this far, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.